Hello and welcome back to Slick Willy Fly. So my last video was a streaking caddis and that's great. And I do use dry flies on occasion, but I'm just jonesing to get back to my roots, and my roots are streamers. I'm a Florida boy, right here, Florida boy. And streamers, poppers, jigs, that's my background, that's where I come from. So we're gonna tie a fly today that a lot of people call. I mean, you can YouTube this. If you YouTube surf candy, you're gonna get 100 different flies. So I don't want to call it surf candy, but this is basically a streamer, craft fur streamer, that I'm going to. My way of thinking is that this is something that I would cast walking the beach. In South Florida, we can walk the beach and catch snook, tarpon, permit, bonefish, jacks, snappers. There's all kind of fish that cruise those beaches in the early morning hours before the general public comes out and starts swimming and messes the whole thing up. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And if you're in South Florida, I highly recommend that you try it. So what I have here is a size 4 heavy streamer hook, and I have a tungsten bead, because my thinking is that I need this thing to get down when there's a lot of current. So my targets predominantly are hunting in that very turbulent water. So this fly needs to have a little bit of flash. It needs to have a little bit of size so that it pushes water, so that they feel the vibration with their lateral lines. That's what we have to go for with this fly. So I've put down a base of white thread, and I pre-prepped a little craft fur. So I'm going to start with a little craft fur for the tail, and I'm going to start with this on the bottom mostly. It doesn't matter. In fact, I'll show you. You can do it on top. It doesn't matter how you do it. But I don't really want it super long. Maybe about 1/8 of an inch longer than the hook shank. So that's about it. So I'm gonna give it 2 wraps. Check that I like the length, which I do. I'm gonna use my fingers to distribute around the hook, just like that. Then I'm going to pull it tight, and I'm going to wrap all of this craft fur. I'm going to use it all the way up to maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch behind the bead, just to help build the body. And it doesn't have to look pretty. All of this is everything that's not part of that's not tied down is going to get cut off here. So something like that. And I take all this extra, twist it up nice and tight, carefully cut it off, and clean everything up. Perfect. Now I'm going to take a couple of strands of Opal Crystal Flash. That I have right here. And I'm going to double, so that basically I will end up with about 4 strands on each side. So about the halfway mark here, I'm going to set it on my side first. And again, like I always do, a couple of turns just to see where it's sitting. A couple of light turns. I like where it's sitting. So now I pull tight and get that locked in. Then I take the remaining to the opposite side. And before I decide to try and do anything with it, as far as placement, I just get it locked in. Now I can fine tune the placement, which I like very much. Yes. Now I take my scissor, and I am going to not necessarily open the loops, I'm cutting the length. And by doing it individually like that, I make a little bit of a stagger, which I like. I don't like when everything is the exact same length. So now I got a little flash in my tail. So this is going to be a reverse tie. So I have to consider what my body's going to look like. Oh, I guess I should have told you what I'm tying. I'm going to tie in a light body, white, dark top. In this case, I'm going to use olive. I'm going to put a little flash on the top. And then I'm going to make a UV resin head with an eye. So now I'm going to take a little bit of ice wing, and this is Minow color, they call it. It's in the greens. I think it's a good color for this particular fly. So I don't need the amount that I just pulled out, but I'm going to use a little bit on the wing. It's on top. So I'm taking some out, and I'm going to try and get it a little bit somewhat straight as I can anyway. And then once I have this so it looks like that, I fold it in half and I twist this end, and then I tie in the end. Now I bring my thread up towards the bead, and I can just get it out of the way. Then I take this ripple ice, you can use the rotary tool, and I just work it up the shank. All I'm really doing here is giving myself a body color that's going to have a little bit of shine to it. I might actually take the brush to it. We'll see. But like I told you, this is a reverse tie. Some people call it a hollow tie. So that body color is definitely going to shine through. And like I do in my other reverse ties, I don't want to remove the excess here. I'll just comb it out. Take a dubbing brush first. Maybe I comb out a little extra. Give this thing a little bit more life. And I find this one to be a hair too long. So I think I've explained in the past that when I find them to be a hair too long, I don't cut off what's too long. I just come in here and drag, because that keeps it a little bit more staggered. Now if I have a hair that's going forward, yeah, those I cut off. I don't want anything going forward. Beautiful. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. I'm going to come in with my next clump of white. And again, this is a reverse tie. I know I have a reverse tie video. So I imagine the length. It's hard to do on your side, but I imagine my length. And I'm, of course, doing this in a reverse tie motion. So I'm going to set it on the hook at about the correct length. And I'm going to do 2 wraps. And this is only the bottom, so it's important that it stay on the bottom. You just have to kind of take your time right now and put everything in the correct place so that everything ends up where you want it. I think the length looks good, so I'm going to pull tight and I'm going to lock this in. Now it's important that when you lock this in, that thread go all the way up to the back of the bead. That's very important. So now when I cut off my excess craft fur, now more than ever, it's very important that I give that good twist. And when I come in with my scissors here, I got to be very careful. So I only take the tab. So there's the bottom. Now we're going to reverse the process and do the top. For the top, I had prepared a little bit of green craft fur. And it's a very simple reason. Most of these predatory fish, bait fish that are getting ambushed by predatory fish are light bottoms, dark tops. So I have right here, I have the length. My white bottom is already giving me my length. So I just match the length and 2 turns. Just to make sure I like the placement, which I do. Remember, this is only the top. And then I'm gonna lock it in nice and tight and take it all the way to the bead. And here again, you gotta make sure that you only grab the craft fur that you want to cut. And I recommend you give it this little twist, because that makes it a little bit easier to come in with a scissor and cut only what you want to cut. So there it is. So now everything's ready to get pushed to the back. So I break out my push tool, which I've explained in a different video. This was a piece of a water pipe that I cut off, and I just sanded it super smooth, took my time with it because I don't want to risk breaking anything. So this is what I call a push tool. I mean, you can use a pen, you can use anything that'll work for you. It's just a matter of being creative. Remember, the thread has to go all the way to the bead. Gotta make sure you're to the bead, which I am. So now I'm gonna push everything back. And here you wanna do your best to make sure you keep the olive on top and the white on the bottom, which I like. Another little trick that I use, I have one of these little girly hair clamps, and if you like it, you can just take your clamp and clamp the material. That can help you hold it in place just like that. And I do use it, but not so much for this phase. I use it more when I build my heads. So now I'm happy with the way this looks. Everything looks like it's in the right position. Remember to pull your thread forward, and then you build the head behind the craft fur. You build that wall. So now the craft fur is gonna maintain that position. The reason I love doing this is because these hollow ties, I can create a little bulk, just like you see right there, and they're gonna push a little bit more water. So the fish are gonna feel them. So now I'm gonna take another step. I'm gonna take a little bit more of this ice wing, because I wanna give this a little bit more shine. So I'm gonna try to work it so that it's not so super wide. I'm just pulling it so it's a little bit tight, and I'm folding it over and just keep working it till you get to a spot that looks about something like this. And I'm going to actually take this fiber ice and I'm going to place it about the halfway mark right over the bead, and then I'm going to come down with it. I'm going to hold it nice and tight because I don't want this ripple ice to go to the bottom. I want it to sit only on top. Then I'm going to fold over the remaining, and I'm going to sit and just get it right on top. So this gives me a little bit of extra flash on the olive portion of the tie. And now I'm going to whip finish this fly. That was crazy. All right, so now we try again. A little whip finish. And that's the way it's supposed to look. All right, take off my thread. Now I'm going to use the scissors, and I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to just open that up a bit. I'm going to pull off some of this excess. Even though I didn't use a lot, it gets a little bulky, and I don't want it to be that long. Just cleaning everything up a little bit here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now this fly, the way it is right now, this fly will definitely fish and will definitely catch fish. I have no doubt in my mind that I could fish this just like this. But I want to put a head. I want to put an eye. I'm going to build a head on this fly. So we're going to take the time to build a head. So when this is done, I'm going to take this fly, I'm going to let it cure. I'm going to let it really cure. I'll probably leave it in my windowsill like overnight. So it'll sit there till tomorrow when I get home from work. And what I'll do is tomorrow when I get home from work, I'll take this fly and I'll put it in a little bit of warm water and I'll hang it the way I want so that it'll take that shape, permanently take that shape. And I think that looks great. It's gonna get down in the surf with that little bit of a bead. It's a size 4 hook. It's a 5mm tungsten bead. And I think that this little fly, which I refuse to call surf candy, I'm just gonna call it a craft for a bait fish. This will definitely catch fish. This will match a lot of the different kind of bait fish that you routinely find everywhere. Dark top, white bottom. It's got a little flash, it's got everything you need. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you liked the fly. And I hope you'll come back. I kind of needed this after tying, I spent the day tying dry flies. And I needed to get back to my roots. So thank you for watching. Thank you for having a cocktail with me. And see you on the next video.